Even if you've never delved deep into Greek mythology, you've probably heard of him, the Minotaur. A feared creature, a legendary monster, a living nightmare trapped in the most famous labyrinth in history. His appetite? Innocent youths sent into his lair with no hope of return. With the powerful body of a human warrior and the head of a wild bull, the Minotaur was no ordinary monster. He was a freak of nature, a devourer of human flesh, a divine punishment. But his story begins long before his roar echoed through the labyrinth's corridors. It begins with a king, a sin, and the wrath of the gods. There was Minos, king of Crete, ambitious and ruthless. He wanted the throne above all else and fought fiercely against his brothers for it. In the end, he won. But ruling a kingdom wasn't enough. Minos wanted something more, the gods' approval. To prove he was the chosen one, he made a bold promise. Poseidon, lord of the seas, send me a magnificent white bull, a sign of your blessing. In return, I will sacrifice it in your honor. And the god listened. From the waters, a bull of supernatural beauty emerged, strong, imposing, flawless. But when Minos laid eyes on the perfect creature, he felt a selfish desire. How could he sacrifice it? How could he get rid of something so magnificent? So instead, he deceived Poseidon. He took an ordinary bull, dull, weak, and offered it in place of the real one. Poseidon, of course, saw through the deception. And gods, well, gods do not take kindly to being tricked. The punishment came swiftly and mercilessly. First, the very bull that Minos had stolen was cursed. Once gentle, it became a raging beast, a living nightmare that terrorized Crete, destroying crops, toppling houses, and spreading chaos. But that wasn't enough. The true punishment was not for the bull. It was for Minos and his family. Poseidon called upon Eros, the god of desire, and commanded, "Make the queen of Crete fall in love with the very bull." And so it happened. The beautiful Pasiphae, wife of Minos, was consumed by an overwhelming passion, an uncontrollable obsession with the cursed beast. Her thoughts were devoured by desire, her reason consumed by the fire of madness. Desperate, she sought out Daedalus, the genius of engineering and architecture, and pleaded, "Build something for me, something that will allow me to be with him." Daedalus hesitated, but he knew that defying the will of kings meant risking his own life. Left with no choice, he built a bizarre structure, a wooden cow perfectly sculpted where Pasiphae could hide and deceive the bull. And that night, it happened. From this profane union, the Minotaur was born. From his very first cry, it was clear that this creature did not belong to the world of men. Half man, half bull, a living abomination. His given name was Asterius, in honor of the former king of Crete. But soon, he would be known by another name, Minotaur, the bull of Minos. Minos, gripped by horror and shame, could not bring himself to kill the beast. But he also could not let it roam free. So he summoned Daedalus once more. Build a prison, one from which it can never escape. And so the Labyrinth of Crete was born, a tangled maze of endless corridors, a nightmare with no exit. There, in the cold and darkness, the Minotaur grew. And over time, something terrible happened. He became hungry. Not ordinary hunger, not a hunger that could be satisfied with bread or fruit. His hunger was greater, more cruel. It was an appetite for human flesh. The king knew he had to feed the creature. And so a dark idea took shape. And this is where Athens' tragedy enters the story. While Crete struggled with the monster hidden in the labyrinth, Athens faced a tragedy of its own. Minos' son, Androgeus, had been killed in Athens. Some say he was murdered out of jealousy. Others claim he died in an accident during a tournament, and there are even those who believe he fell victim to the very same cursed bull that had been wreaking havoc in the region. What mattered was that Minos was furious, and when a king is furious, an entire kingdom pays the price. Minos declared war on Athens and emerged victorious. But instead of demanding gold, land, or riches, he wanted blood. As punishment for his son's death, Athens was forced to pay a cruel tribute. Every cycle, 7 young men and 7 young women would be sent to Crete. Their fate? The Labyrinth. Their executioner? The Minotaur. This dark sacrifice lasted for years. Young people were chosen by lottery, torn from their families, and taken away on ships with black sails, a symbol of mourning. There was no hope. Once inside the labyrinth, there was no way out. Until one young Athenian prince decided to change that. His name was Theseus. The son of King Aegeus, his origins were shrouded in mystery. Some versions say he was just a mortal prince. Others claim that his mother, Aethra, was visited by Poseidon himself on the same night she lay with Aegeus, making Theseus a demigod. From an early age, Theseus knew he was destined for greatness. When he came of age, he discovered his father's belongings hidden beneath a rock, a sword, a shield, and royal sandals. It was a sign. He was the heir to Athens. But he didn't just want to rule, he wanted to be a hero. When he learned of the terrible tribute to the Minotaur, he decided to put an end to it once and for all. He volunteered to take the place of one of the young victims, but not as a sacrifice, as a hunter. His father, King Aegeus, was terrified. This is suicide, but Theseus insisted. He would sail with the others, enter the labyrinth, and kill the Minotaur. Before departing, he made a pact with his father. If I survive, I will change the ship's sails to white. That way, you'll know I have won. With that promise, he boarded the ship alongside the condemned. But what Theseus didn't know was that he wouldn't face this battle alone. When the prisoners arrived in Crete, they were brought before King Minos. Among those present was Ariadne, the king's daughter, and it was there, before everyone, that destiny began to take shape. Ariadne looked at Theseus, and in that instant she fell hopelessly in love. The young Athenian was not like the others. He was not bowed by fear. His eyes were those of a warrior, of someone who refused to accept death without a fight. She knew she had to help him. Desperate, she sought out Daedalus, the architect who had built the labyrinth. "Tell me, how can someone make it out of there alive?" Daedalus hesitated. Helping Theseus meant betraying his king, but he also knew that the Minotaur was an endless horror, so he revealed his secret. Give him a thread long enough to guide his way back. Under the cover of night, Ariadne found Theseus. "Take this spool of thread, tie one end to the entrance of the labyrinth, follow it back when you find the Minotaur." But that wasn't all. She had a condition. "If you survive, take me with you, far from here, forever." Theseus took her hands and promised, "I will return, and you will come with me." And so, the next day, the youths were cast into the labyrinth. The darkness was absolute. The corridors were endless. Theseus tied the end of the thread at the entrance and began to move forward. Behind him, the others trembled with fear. But he did not hesitate. He pressed on. The tunnels were treacherous. Strange sounds echoed in the distance. The stench of death filled the air. Until finally, he reached the center of the labyrinth. There, the beast slept. The Minotaur was even more terrifying than the legend said. Its body was massive, its muscles like living stone. Its breath was hot, foul, carrying the scent of its victim's blood. Theseus knew he couldn't falter. If the beast woke at the wrong moment, all would be lost. He drew his sword, took a silent step forward, and then the Minotaur opened its eyes. A monstrous roar shook the labyrinth. The ground trembled. The Minotaur lunged at Theseus, murderous fury burning in its ember-red eyes. And there, in that stone prison, man and monster faced each other in a deadly duel. Theseus spun, narrowly avoiding the sharp horns. The Minotaur charged again with brutal force. The clash of claws against sword echoed like thunder. The battle was fierce. Some say Theseus managed to drive his blade into the creature's chest. Others claim his sword was torn from his hands, and with no other choice, he strangled the Minotaur with his bare hands. One way or another, the monster fell. The roar ceased. The Minotaur was dead. The labyrinth, once his kingdom, had become his tomb. But the fight was not over yet. Theseus grabbed Ariadne's thread and began to follow it. His steps were swift. Time was running out. Outside, Ariadne was waiting, and then he emerged, victorious, stained with blood, but alive. The Minotaur was dead. The nightmare was over. But fate still had one more twist in store for Theseus. He had slain the Minotaur. But the real battle was just beginning. With the monster defeated, Theseus and the young Athenians had to escape before Minos discovered what had happened. Ariadne, anxiously waiting at the labyrinth's entrance, led them to the harbor. "Hurry, my father will never let you leave alive." They ran under the cover of night, silent as shadows. At the ports of Crete, they seized a ship and set sail, gliding across the water beneath the pale light of the moon. The black sails still fluttered in the wind, a symbol of mourning, of tragedy. But for Ariadne, it was a new beginning. She had left everything behind: her home, her family, her past. She was with the man she loved, and Athens, the great city of marble and sun, would be her new home. Or at least, that's what she believed. On the way to Athens, the ship made a stop at the island of Naxos. It was a place of refuge before the final stretch of the journey. There, exhausted from their escape, they rested on the shore, between the warm breezes and the gentle waves. Ariadne slept beneath the stars, dreaming of the future. But when the sun rose, Theseus was gone. The ship had sailed away. She ran to the shore, her heart pounding. She called out for Theseus. She searched for the young Athenians. But all she found was the empty horizon and the foam of the sea. He had abandoned her. The reason behind Ariadne's abandonment remains a mystery. Some say Theseus was cruel and ungrateful, leaving her behind without a word. Others claim that Athena appeared to him in a dream and ordered him to leave, for his destiny was not with Ariadne. Still, other versions say it was Dionysus himself who took her, captivated by her beauty. One way or another, her fate changed that day. As she wept on the deserted shore, a divine shadow approached. Dionysus, god of wine, revelry, and ecstasy, found her there, lost and wounded, and he took her as his wife. Ariadne, once a princess of Crete and the lover of a hero, became an immortal queen among the gods. But while one destiny was sealed in Naxos, another tragic fate awaited in Athens. Theseus and the young Athenians sailed home. He had slain the Minotaur, freed his city from its blood tribute, and escaped Minos' wrath. Yet in his glory, he forgot a crucial promise. When his ship appeared on the horizon, its black sails were still raised. King Aegeus, who had been waiting anxiously atop a cliff, saw the dark signal and his heart shattered. He believed his son was dead. Overcome with despair, Aegeus threw himself into the sea, swallowed by the waves below. And so the waters came to bear his name, the Aegean Sea. When Theseus arrived in the city, he found the throne empty and the people in mourning. His father was gone, and unknowingly he had caused yet another tragedy. Now the hero was no longer just a warrior. He was a king, but his victory did not bring him joy. He had lost Ariadne, he had lost his father, and in time he would lose the light in his eyes as well. Theseus ruled Athens for many years, but his story would not end as that of a triumphant hero. His reign would be filled with challenges, betrayals, and tragedies. And in the end, the man who slew the Minotaur would not die in battle, nor in glory, but betrayed and forgotten, cast from a cliff, the very same fate he had unknowingly given his father. Thus the cycle came full circle, for in myths, glory and tragedy always walk hand in hand.
That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a like, it really helps a lot. If you're new here, welcome. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any updates or upcoming content from the Mythological portal. Got a topic suggestion? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you soon.